Hey, bro.
that they had a chance. But I agree with you. If they want to make a change, it has to happen now. Yeah, you are in your home country. Yeah, you are in the hometown. You have the fans behind you. But all of that is not going to matter if you are just not able to perform, if you're just not able to put up plays. I mean, we have seen, I think maybe 2 plays that stand out to me in my head out of that team. After all the matches after the 7 matches that we have played, that's just not going to be able to cut it. Not even going to be able to cut it for a top 10, and definitely not going to be able to cut it for a top 5. And I'm not even going to say top 1 because that's out of reach right now.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the thing is, it's very similar to other teams. Like, we lose some players pretty early. We want to try and avoid that. Like, when they take fights, they look really confident, but I feel like it's all they're just too passive or they're over-aggressive. Like, if we find that middle spot where they take fights that make sense, that would be the alter ego I want to see.
Talking about too aggressive, there was a situation yesterday that you were kind of disappointed in.
Don't even.
It's your choice to talk about it, but they were at somewhere near Volcano, and there was a team just above them, and they pushed out of the circle almost.
Yeah, the circle finisher was near Yasnai Polyana Fields, like down to the southern western side, and they took a fight versus Nova, and that was like a perfect fight that makes sense. They were aggressive on a position that just was going to give them so much to them. Exactly, and they won it. The crowd went wild, as you would expect. Fantastic. That's a fight this strong. Then the team third parties their position, and the Blue Zone is pushing that team towards them, and yet they actively push out of their comfort zone for a fight that is going to come their way eventually. They don't have to chase it down, and they push it one by one. That is when they're taking a fight that's over-aggressive and doesn't really make too much sense. So just put a little bit more thought behind those fights, and I think that if they just waited, they could have got himself 3-4 more limbs, maybe also take themselves the game off that match.
Going from last to first. Now, we haven't really talked about Inco that much, Seven, but give me your expectation for this day in general. Is there a possibility they will be in first place after 12 matches being played? Still remaining there.
With Inco Gaming, I'm honestly not sure. If it was Alpha 7, I would say, yeah, I can see Alpha 7 definitely being there at the top. I feel like I'm just not convinced with the inconsistency that I saw out of Inco Gaming. I think Blank was able to point it out perfect for us, that it was, I mean, they had 2 great games at the start, and then in the middle, they kind of just disappear, and then at the end, they kind of showed up again. Inco Gaming cannot do that. That's not even a consistency that they want to have here if they want to be able to maintain that first place. And going from Inco Gaming and other teams that I personally want to talk about is going to be Fireflux Esports and S2G. This was a team that we're kind of wondering what are they going to be able to do here, right? With the announcement of Pmgc 2023 Grand Finals going to be in Turkey. I want to see more out of these teams right now. I mean, they started off the day with, what, a 15th place finish for S2G with only 1 ranking point? That's not going to be able to cut it, and then you got Fireflux only being able to get 2 points.
Hey, okay, it's China Day today, Turkey Day tomorrow. No, it's a region step up time at a time, okay?
Okay.
I'm still scared of the castles over there.
Ladies and gentlemen, let me put that into context. The reson why Max is saying that is because the Turkey casters are right next to us.
I'm scared of a death stare right now, okay? It's going to be coming my way eventually, but they could pop off, but we mentioned it. We had some clear critics about the criticism, for these 2 teams. Fireflux, they get 1 big pop-off, and that's a lot of their points. Then they kind of like fizzle out for the following matches, and then you have S2G, or you get eliminations, or you get placement points. We need to find that middle ground. Those are the 2 things we need to see from these 2 teams, and as of right now, we haven't really seen it.
Something that a lot of this team, especially the ones that are currently, I'm going to say, between 3rd and 5th, right? We saw Inco Gaming getting away yesterday with being in 2nd place because the teams that were actually trying to catch up to them just weren't performing. I feel like today, those teams that are actually trying to catch up to 2nd place and 1st place will be performing, especially with what we just saw, and especially the jump up that we just saw out of 4 Angry Men. They need to find a consistency. They cannot have this off and on games. They cannot be having those pop-up performances like you're saying. I'm talking about S2G, and then just completely disappearing.
Yeah, I have the impression every time we go back to these grand finals, there's one word that keeps coming back, and it's consistency.
Yep.
It's the name of the game.
It will always be.
It will always be. And even if you get those big pop-off games and then bad games, you need to be consistent in how you get those pop-off games too. So there's no, like, secret sauce, okay? You need to just get yourself those big games or just consistency, and that is how you're going to reach the way to the top.
100%. A team maybe that's still in the middle of the pack, IHC. We saw them last game being very aggressive early on, capitalizing on a mistake from T2K, but then they fell off again. What's your thought process behind IHC and maybe their performance today? Do you think they're going to be coming back strong?
I mean, hopefully. Once again, that fight with Ziol yesterday when he took himself that 1v1 was looking really good. They were looking confident with their approach. I think it was Wolves in that 6th match when they were approaching Inco Gaming also. Like, they were a team that was seeming to be aggressive because they knew how valuable that position actually was. Yeah, I do think, though, that fight we did mention on this previous game that just happened, I think they were just seemingly not prepared that well for that fight at the time, so I'm not really going to put too much thought into it. But yeah, IHG, I think that they have clear potential to get themselves some good games, and I would like to see if Mongolia as a region also can have some big step-ups.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I mean, with what we were talking about earlier at the beginning of the day was that IHC at least got a win already, right? They're going to have a little bit of that confidence boost that they were able to kind of do that. Get that out of the way, in a way. Check market. Okay, we got to win. Now we can focus on other stuff and try to be a lot more consistent with IHC. I think right now with what they're doing, I don't see them being in the top 10.
We will see about that one. Let's do a quick recap of what's been happening so far. Or not. Maybe we're staying right here.
With a recap.
It's coming right now. Ooh, oh, that is just a lovely graphic.
Oh, this is nice.
Oh, so we can see.
By the way, something that I did want to point out yesterday, nobody keeps challenging Wolves in Pochinki, and I feel like at some point that we're going to be able to take advantage of that, and I think it's finally starting to show that they are going to be able to take advantage of just being able to move wherever they want, whether it's north, whether it's south, whether it's east or west, and I think that's definitely helped them out in a big, big way.
Yeah, I do also really like the rotation we saw from Nova, Gatka. Of course, you're not going to have a lot of teams up in the northern side of the map, so they tend to be on these eastern circles to always go for the instant rotation northern side of the river, because you have like maybe 2-3 teams, so the chances of you clashing in another team at that stage is very, very slim. It's been working out good for them so far, and then instantly as we see a lot of these teams trying to just center up, because we know this terrain here, 7. You don't have an insane amount of good position, and then you have this shift, and you're just like, oh my god, this is horrible. Yeah. North is going to be hell.
By the way, look at the 2-2 splits there from Nova.
Yes, they always do it.
They do, and we saw that yesterday, especially in Miramar too, and it kind of worked out perfect for them for that circle. And right here, I mean, it ended up working out perfect for them, as well as they were able to kind of just figure out where they were going to be going. And I feel like this is what Nova bread and butter is, being able to utilize those 2-2 splits that they end up doing, putting themselves in a great situation, and then at the right moment actually getting together and putting themselves in an even better situation.
Exactly, because that's what these 2-2 splits enables Nova to do. It keeps your options open, and boom, the circle pops off, and they saw this like, okay, we're going to regroup on the 2 players further south, go for the wide rotate, and as we said, avoid all of the madness up north. That is what enabled them to make it so far in the game, until once again, nearly bit it, but it's still far enough and a really strong game.
See, and this is what I'm saying for Angry Man. It would have been a completely different story if that 2T2K player didn't show up. All right? Yeah, they have to rotate, but I mean, if they would have been able to just kind of push back on Godlike Star Wars, which if they didn't have T2K player just laying down, being a little snaky snake, that would have ended up happening. I think that would have ended up in a much, much better performance.
How often are you going to bring back the Star Wars fight?
I'm just going to keep doing it.
Just going to keep it above my head, aren't you?
Yeah, until they start performing.
Yeah, not too cool. But at the end of the day, 2-2 split from Nova worked pretty good. Didn't really capitalize on it too much yesterday, but they keep doing it, and I feel like the execution on that split in particular this game enabled them to make it in the late game. Just like, it was a breeze for them to make it.
100%. And with that being said, you can hear the crowd getting hyped up because we are going into match number 2. John, Alan, and Blank, take it away.
That's right, we're ready for Miramar. So are the crowd, so is everybody involved. The players have loaded into the lobby, and they're getting ready for the desert.
Absolutely, I think the desert is a very scary place. Big map, Alpha 7 usually was quite good at this one, influenced Kemin. Kind of took up that mantle over in Americas though for quite some time. This is going to be a little bit more of a difficult match. I think that with some of these other teams starting to build up momentum now, build up some actual good games, some good consistency, we might see a very different Miramar to start off our day here. Excited to get into it though. Some of our players already down there in the booths, repping Brazil, which is good to see. Honestly, some of these teams, I think they've done very, very well, considering the circumstances, considering where they've come during this year. There's some great storylines. I think Inco, almost out of nowhere, a team that a lot of people didn't expect to do this well, have really proven a lot of people wrong, which is great to see. Love to see all the fans here as well in the crowd, trying their best. Come on now, you got to practice that type of stuff.
Oh my God, some of the talent, some of the Indonesian talent had those backstage, those ball toys. I'm really bad at it.
I'm great at it.
No,
I was doing it in
Don't
secret.
lie to me. Don't lie to me.
Yeah, I did a full like 20 run.
I can't believe you.
Yeah,
I
was like spinning in a circle. I was so good at it that I wasn't allowed to go on
You don't
video.
even know what a circle is.
Well, begs to differ. I've seen a lot of circles in my time, specifically in Pubg Mobile. Also here on Miramar as we head into match 2. getting started right now, right here. Circle, not here yet, but I can identify one when I see one. However, the playing path is on our screens. Over from Minas del Sur all the way up towards just the right side of La Cobreria. So a lot of this area is over towards the eastern side, a little bit more inaccessible. Over towards the western side, it is quite rocky, a little bit more difficult to navigate over. So it's going to be a bit of a weird start for a lot of these teams. It's going to be a case of dropping down, getting some vehicles, but I expect that we might see some scuffles when it comes to teams dropping on one another.
Certainly some scuffle potential on the cards here. Match number 8 of the 18 set. We are, of course, coming up to that halfway mark. We'll be reaching that after the next game that we play, but for now, in the desert, IHC dropping down right on top of Monte Nuevo. And no one really looking to challenge them out here just yet. South side, fairly solidly occupied, but no real hot drops. Actually, maybe Buriram, with their easternmost player, might crash into DRS if DRS don't go too much further on those parachutes, but it looks like they are just going to disengage from one another. Don't want to get locked into it too early. Foreigner on a Valle de Mar split, and Blank, you think you know circles? Name 3.
This one right here.
Yeah, that's right.
I have a ring on. That is also a circle.
Oh. The
That
Labendita crater,
that
very
sight
good.
right there,
Oh.
that is a circle.
You are again very good at this.
Thank you.
Pick feet, not quite able to land the winning shots over the T2K legend.
However,
Fortunately,
you pull out the weapon that isn't necessarily meant for this type of range and you hit a few shots. Legend currently just zigzagging this one out of there. Circle though, up towards that eastern side. Inco, of course, gravitating towards the center of it as per usual. Quite good at this one. We have Nova doing excellently well after that last game, down towards the south of Minas Generalis. 4 AM also very much far out the way, very similar to our last game, so we can kind of expect them to move a little bit early. Look at that, taking down that player from T2K. It gets done and dusted. The Wolves finally starting to howl here a little bit in the Pmgc.
getting a little bit of strength from that last game, a late survival for the solo that remained. 3rd place for Angry Men as well. Doing quite a lot. Getting a lot of eliminations in that previous game. We saw only Inco get ahead of the 3 Chinese teams. And they were the ones to take the chicken dinner home. So, strong performance, really, from these squads. 4 Angry Men looking to try and capitalize on that, to try and convert on that, gain a little bit of momentum. Northern side, Alpha 7 will have to push in through GeekFam if they want to get central. Inco, typically, as they always are, already very close to that central area.
Influence came in. Team that I mentioned, we're doing a lot of work here on Miramar during America's PMPLs. See what they have to offer here today. Obviously, down in 4th place now, 57 points. Very good capability, though, to jump up a little bit, maybe even take 2nd place this game if Alpha 7 aren't able to find their footing, because right now they are slipping just a little bit. They've got the slippery soles on when they really should have come equipped with crampons. Get those spikes dug into the side of these rocky hills. Fortunately, on the northern side at the moment, would like to move further down, past Tierra Bronca, maybe El Azahar. Only Federals in this location, providing scouting for Influence Kevin. Perhaps another position to get some loot on board, which would be fantastic for them.
As it will for everyone. No other big early occurrences going on right now. It's interesting that DRS went all the way out to Puerto Paraíso. They dropped near Los Higos on the northern shore, split north and south on those islands. And I guess they just picked up those vehicles. Once the circle had popped, they decided that they're going to be moving up past Impala, which is currently empty, for DRS's progression northwards. And they can swing in from the east side near Minas Generalis.
When we look at this tournament as a whole so far, we've had some very interesting ups and downs from teams, and also just looking at the leaderboards in general. You know, 11th place IHC 49 points. You're looking all the way up towards 4 AM at 61. It's a 12-point difference right now between 3rd and 11th, which is really not a lot whatsoever. That's one semi-decent game, to be honest. That's all you need. That's all you want. That'll see you happy going up towards the top of the tables. I think 4 AM right now, they have extended that lead a little bit, but this game has to be another decent one. What they really want is that buffer that currently Inco and perhaps A7 currently still hold on to. If A7 goes down once again early with no points, it's going to be a case of A7 no longer being up towards that top side, because I do think there's going to be a fair few teams rivaling that point scoring of 78 after this game. So for A7, a lot of that saving grace is now gone.
More than that, Inco now 12 points ahead. At the top of the tables, a clean 90. Will they be the first team to break 100, or is someone else just going to blast out from those 2nd to 5th positions, or 2nd to 7th positions, essentially, with the 3-way tiebreaker going on there? The Wolves managing to meet the match with the Nepalese teams. Able to keep that one even, but it is still very, very tightly packed on pretty much the entirety of the tables, barring Vampire and Alter Ego.
A lot of teams really like to stamp their mark during this Pmgc, and right now it seems the best time to do it, with Nova currently in 10th place, 52 points. This has never been so clear a path to success for a lot of these teams right now. Nova has dominated the scene for such a long time. The 3-peat would have been absolutely glorious, but it does get further and further away every single game we pass. I think for Nova, though, that last game versus Inco, really not ideal for them. Will dampen the confidence just a little bit.
Potentially. It certainly does have that possibility, but either way, they did manage to get into 2nd place, and it was a phenomenal spray transfer from Nenebete of Inco to be able to take them down. So in a lot of senses, sure, the actual result itself in terms of the numbers wasn't super bolstering, but I think that they can take a lot from that game in terms of confidence moving forwards. They weren't always in the best spot. They did have to move around and avoid fights where they didn't want to take them, and take them in the right fashion when they did, and I feel like they constantly made correct decisions during that last game.
Absolutely. I think that where they came from, there was a real chance to actually take down the boys from Inco as well, but they're very good at hunkering down, getting themselves into a position where it was safe, a lot of engagements. This time around, it does feel like this lobby is starting to realize Inco's strategy, Inco's technique. We have a massive clump towards the center now, because this is what tends to happen, is that with these circles, with these teams, you get just a slow constrict of teams towards that center side. Then edge becomes a lot more valuable. You'll see the teams start to spread out a bit more. And Inco's been really capitalizing off a lot of these teams playing edge for quite some time, in which case the center of the circle becomes very valuable because it's so free to get into. I think Inco might struggle because of this. Again, they have so much experience playing center, they might just be able to outplay a lot of these teams. Wow. But with this, it's no longer free whatsoever. Inco's got to be a little bit worried with the pathing that they take in towards this circle, but it's certainly not going to be an easy central position for them this time around.
I was just keeping an eye on DRS and Buradam on the southeast coast. DRS fairly slow to rotate up from Puerto Paraíso up to Impala, and it's allowed Buradam to actually catch up with them. Now a little bit of conflict potentially on the southeast coast as My Name P looking to peek on over towards Rules, both of whom are in the blue zone now. Spotted. Rules takes a little lick of damage there, and that's going to slow things down, make it all the harder. My Name P can't really afford to take too much himself, but Killer dispatched early into the buggy, trying to flee the scene, but Rules under pressure still by My Name P on the ridgeline. Can't quite connect the shots. The bullets are not there in the magazine, and Rules can careen down the hillside, get some healing done, and get the res on.
That could have been an easy one too there for My Name P. It's funny because that shot over towards Killer was the really difficult one. The player just sending away in the buggy should have been pretty simple. Even Stevens. Fortunately, pressure gets to the player, and My Name P is not able to finish this one out. Sends up towards that top side. Fortunately, in the meantime, he is taking massive amounts of damage.
And remember, this is in the blue zone, so you will need to stop and heal. Killer re-knocked there, and actually they're not even going to go for the... Oh, no, he is. Rules is going to stick by his teammate on this front. Try and get Killer back to feet. Couple of frags going the way of DRS. Wolves have picked up 1, S2G have picked up 2. That'll be against Stalwart. Inco have lost a player as well.
This is always the issue for A7, is that Influence Kevin take very similar rotational pass. I think they do it a bit sooner, a bit more slick. For A7 now they have to figure out a different approach inwards. They could just go for the blasting charge play, try and set that one up outside the doors of Influence Kevin and just breach inwards. Not be a bad idea. Fortunately, it's one of those fights that is not easy. Influence Kevin and A7, both widely known for their team fight capability. Very strong fraggers on board for both these teams. Inco, like I said, losing a player. Again, this is what I thought would be a big issue. A lot of these teams are realizing that Inco is getting away with playing center far too often. So now everyone sends center early on, keeps it chill, keeps it easy. Nova's figured this out too. Now Inco's been shunted out on that northern edge. They're going to have to move a little bit further. This is where come into conflict. Again, though, I feel like Miramar never was their strongest map in the first place. Usually Erangel is where they shine. Most of their best rotations are there too. If they can get those blast out performances on those maps, yes, they might not be consistent, but it might just be enough to see them through. It does leave them open, though, to the chase. Specifically at the end of that day 3 tomorrow, we will conclude everything. If you were sat at a point for Inco where you go down, you've had your blast out games, you're sat ahead, you don't want to be in that position where you're getting no points anymore, because that really does open the gates up for the chase.
Oh, 4 Angry Men taking a knock from CalC, and that's a very swift flush coming through as well. S2G managed to pick up a 3rd elimination so far in the game with 58 players remaining. They haven't really had too much of a challenge to deal with, and this is great news for S2G's position in this next circle, with 4 Angry Men ahead of them and most likely in a location that they'll want to stretch out to.
Yeah, getting that initial knock and flush can make it so much easier. I love the positions they're playing as well. 2 forward in the buildings, providing that high ground control, as well as even more high ground control in the back, watching for these rotations over on the western side. It's really well done. S2G's got this one on lock on the western side. A7 currently in coal mine. Pick up some shots over towards Buddadam while careening on past.
Buddadam having been locked in with DRS for a little bit of time, trying to escape the cage, but Wolves should spot them. My name P gets some airtime, both on our screens and in the into the vehicle in the Murado. Has to run on the rims here now near the church and through the graveyard. I'll have to pray that they don't take too many shots here, but Beautiful is on the roof. My name P able to hop out and go on the inside there. Pick Feet burns the vehicle, but allows the player into the compound.
My name P suddenly solo player in the midst of the Wolves here. Looking to bite back versus these guys. Only 2 players for Buddadam. 1 nade. Be all it takes, and he's completely going for the bank on the outside. Molotov, though, that's curtains.
Oh, I thought he might have been able to get a knock in response there, but the Wolves will hold it down. Fireflux in the meantime, however, could be lighting up Pick Feet on the hold. Maybe even stealing this point away. Manages to back off behind the ridgeline. Goes for a second peek there on a sliver of HP. Ketch lines it up as well. And Fireflux, they want to snap up a couple of those points, but the Wolves managed to get that point into their wallet. 6th place now held by them. IHC moving around on the northern side, near Hacienda del Patron, on those hills to the south side of it. They've got Stalwart to deal with further south of them.
Yeah, some real cheeky stuff there coming through from Fireflux, trying to pick up those eliminations, even in what I was a pretty terrible spot to be in on that amount of HP. Inco just meandering around on that northwest edge, 4 AM. Do we have Kengzo to maybe worry about just a little bit? And S2G currently grouping up right on the edge of the circle now. And this is where what you were talking about earlier, John, might come into play, is thinking about moving over towards 4AM's position. You can imagine they're ready and waiting with the nades, though. Any kind of push coming through from S2G is going to have to be quickly dealt with. A lot of times when you're sending those grenades out as well, it has to be perfectly timed, because if you pull the pin and not for long enough, and S2G's already at your doorstep, those nades are going to be all for naught and probably going to cause more chaos than benefit in those types of situations.
IHC 2 players forwards, Godless and Alex at the back. We saw them playing off each other very well. An engagement we saw from them last game, but this time around, they will be the backstop, not the forward vanguard. Alter Ego on the northeast side yet to make their turn southward into the next circle. Nova really with a massive position here, controlling a lot of the east side.
Really good spot for them. Apologies.
You were just so astonished.
I was, yeah. Another sound came out from the depths of my lungs, apparently. My alter ego. T2K, though, on that south side, trying to make their way in. I think so far Nova has dealt with them quite easily. You can see Jane's very low on HP. Vampire Esports move up. 4 players still remaining. No changes, as Max said. Again, 30 points. Still, a big game would set them up with a lot of the rest of the teams. This is a very even lobby at the moment. I don't think anyone's really playing that badly whatsoever. Darius chilling on that eastern side. The east is what they own. They keep it. Locked down. Nova, though, at the moment have a really strong spot. Towards that center side, Paraboy can play off the top of these ridges. Over towards the west, the compounds are very, very prominent here. One of the only compounds. I think the difficulty with this one, though, is it's very accessible to many different teams. So when it gets to a point where this is really the only place left to go, you're going to see a lot of teams trying to occupy this space. And Nova will have to regroup, recoalesce into one spot, and try and focus on one point of attention. Paraboy is just moving backwards and forwards now, trying to gather as much information as possible, prepared for any kind of push from the team.
No one really going to be pushing them from that northern side, though. There's a little bit too much open ground for them to try and cover, unless Alter Ego just try a full send straight through the middle of the circle. It's the southwest I think they should be most worried about, with the Wolves and Fireflux both taking occupation up there. The southeast side probably going to be able to hold itself out for one more circle, so until that gets pushed in, should be quite safe.
IHC looking for them to do a little bit more, honestly. Probably one of the teams we've seen with the most clutch plays. I talked about the nades have to be timed perfectly for 4 AM, but it looks like S2G have their number now.
Silas wants to put another one, another cat amongst the pigeons. Kelsey has taken a knock in the meantime, but they will be able to res this as Silas continues the bombardment. A re-knock, and 2 players now down. There's a Molotov to follow it up, and Silas is going to roll on forwards. There is a player to deal with. It's Good Xiao. He's already taken a lick of damage, and a nade over the top of the rock is not going to find the damage, and Silas has the challenge. An excellent shutdown, and Silas ruins the day for 4 Angry Men.
Beautiful nade over the top there. The arc is strong. Aims it perfectly. S2G realized they had to punch a hole through into this circle, and that was the excellent time to do it. Fantastic stuff there. S2G, that gives them a good chance. Unfortunately, with Kelsey going down in the back, took them a little bit longer to respond than they would have liked. Luckily, Silas is just very, very strong with it there.
Paraboy on the northwest point of the Nova hold did manage to find a player from Inco, but GeekFam all the way on the north took a long shot with an SLR over towards Paraboy. That's going to force Jimmy to reposition to get that res, and Inco might not be able to capitalize. They probably think he's still going. Wouldn't have heard those gunshots from all that way away.
Yeah, for Inco, they moved up towards that position that Paraboy was holding, and rightly so. I think that's one of the easiest points of ingress towards this side of the compound. Trying to take that ridge side, Paraboy locks it down. Fortunately, that delay there has caused some issues. Wolves lose Remember to Fireflux. Pick feet, though, still looking over the top. Nays going backwards and forwards. Doesn't do very much. Sorkai sends one's back of his own. Equally as inefficient.
Catch launching ordnance, providing cover. The Wolves will have to move parallel to them. IHC crashing into GeekFam. Alex down first. Snipes able to get the flush almost instantly, leaving the numbers at 2 on the inside. IHC with 3 pushing through the building now. Godless trying to hold on these corners. Seoul onto the upstairs, and GeekFam don't want to take this disadvantage fight. They're going to regroup, reposition, and fight 4 versus 3, but Micah falls down to Demo as he sneaks away back into the building. The high ground occupied as well, as Seoul has a nade to cook. They are launching that ordnance out as Yuhai flanks around the side for GeekFam. Godless falls. And IHC are down to 2 active. Yuhai around the door frame, looks for more damage and he'll find it, but Demo's still active. Zeol for the 1-2 punch, but he's cutting both of them down. Yuhai finally curtailed, and there is only 1 player now left standing as IHC were able to deal with the backlines. In the meantime, there is a rock-up coming through as well from Godlike Stalwart. The desk said they wanted to see more from them, and this could be a whole host of points if they can move in at the right time. Damn rude for GeekFam. 1 or 2 players alive. Zeol isolated to the upstairs, and now Godlike Stalwart put a break on the fight.
Crazy moments here coming from IHC to hold this one off, but GeekFam able to re-stabilize here. Yuhai gets back up to speed. A huge amount of damage done by him, but Stalwart starting to send grenades through. 3 players for them.
Would be an excellent pickup if they're able to take down all 4 of GeekFam, but they are not willing to go for the full engagement here. If they'd have known the true numbers of the fight, they might have actually just gone for that push, but it's so difficult to know which way it's going. Nobody quite knows, unfortunately. Fireflux were down in the meantime on that south side. GeekFam and Stalwart still standoff now as we hop on over to S2G. This is southwest side of the circle. Wolves further out than S2G. T2K as well at their eastern side. S2G have that way up on the cliff face. See Razy looking to try and just launch on over those rocks. Scrambling up the scramble.
Indeed. A lot of these teams it is eggs and bakey, wakey, wakey. Because this is where things are going to start to get a little bit harder. Halfway point on that next match. Vampire Esports move up. 43 players left, 13 teams still going. Vampire Esports might have just found themselves a position. This is what I was talking about earlier with Nova having to recoalesce. They take the strong building for themselves, hoping to hold out from there. And this could be another big game for Nova going forward. Influence came in also, but it's DRS taking it down for 7.
Carrillo, Mafioso.
Oh, just like that.
Both pulled down, reduced to mortals. This time around, Godlike Stalwart getting rolled down by GeekFam, who have been able to hold out against 2 crashes in the same location. They've lost Yuhai for their troubles, but they have managed to pick up a lot of points now, Blank, on that elimination count. 6 eliminations for GeekFam. They are on the warpath. 3 players active for Inco. They lost a player earlier on. Now they're fighting around the sides with S2G. 4 players active for them. But Inco are on the inside track on the circle. Alter Ego crash across to the shack.
I think S2G, with the performance they've had so far, Inco's going to be a little bit worried, but GeekFam's not done yet. Still taking shots towards Inco's side. Snipes has to hit the deck, continue to move it around. Doesn't even know where he's being shot from, and now Damn Rude, last remaining member for the team. And it's Alter Ego, in fact, in a pretty decent position, all huddled up in the shack.
Squash could be really, really brutal here, but Razy spotted around the side, and the Wolves are the other side of this hydraulic press that is crushing S2G. Squash spotted on the ridgeline, takes Memory down. 2 players for S2G caught in the hard place there. As Inco fall back, they want to keep 3 alive. That's all they've got to play with.
Really smart play there from Squash as well, because he wants to absorb those points coming through from S2G. Unfortunately, it may have just given them time to get these players back on their feet. They will unfortunately lose Calci in the process. Silas, a really good game so far. Silas will use his last grenade to hopefully confirm its elimination over towards Memory. Doesn't do quite enough damage, but should bleed out fairly shortly regardless. Inco playing around this edge, just give them a massive amount of cover. I said earlier, it's probably one of the best places to crash onto this position. Fortunately, still taking damage. I think that might be either from Damn Rude or Alter Ego.
Of course, the knock coming through from Squash means that Memory's point goes over to Inco. 9 eliminations for S2G right now. As Damn Rude looks to line up more shots with the SLR over on towards Alter Ego. That is a lot of damage that can pour through those open doors. Unfortunately, he's a little bit broadside to Inco's position, to S2G. Nova, if they move a little bit further in, not that they have to with the circle as it is, as it sits they won't have to move too far at all.
Geek Fam offered a huge chance here in the PMGC. With Yuhai still on loan as well, you wonder if this might be one of the last chances for Geek Fam, PMGC, to put up a big performance or even look for the grand final title. With Micah back on board as well, they've created a fantastic squad with the help of Yuhai. Just wondering who will fill those boots for him. But right now they've got to take what they can get.
Wolves, they'd survived late into the game for the first match, but the second one, they will take a tumble a little bit earlier than they would have liked. 4 eliminations though, not a disaster, but not what they needed to try and pick the pieces up. S2G have an answer to Inco, and that is really, really fast there. 12 eliminations on the game now already, as the Geek Fam gonna add that one up to 13. Unlucky for some, but S2G will absolutely be glad of those points. Hamzy, sure, has been knocked, but that's rezzed very, very swiftly by Ray Z. In the meantime, Influence Kemen going to take the mad dash across the road, get past that crate and up to the hillside. Vampire on the broad of it. This killer still from DRS as the last player standing. It proved to be troublesome.
S2G, Silas currently looking like a trash compactor at the moment because he is crushing it right now during this match. Hamzy G assisting with some great shots coming through for the Mini 14 and the Scar as well. A great supportive kit for him. Look at the current damage as well. Look at that. Really nice evens on the damage score. Vampire Esports just barely living in the moment. Holding on for dear life. Basically on life support at this point in time. Sucking down the oxygen.
It's not going super well. There's nades from Lil Boy. Stoned has one of his own. Did manage to get the heal off, and the stims are going to start to tick up now. So the longer they're in this, the better chance they have. 15 eliminations now for S2G. And there's nades. Hang on a minute. Is this Alter Egos coming through? Pombit burns them down. 3 players from Influence Kemen. They've taken a knee, and nades over are brutal. Alter Egos versus Influence Kemen, and it's going their way. Nova are also chiming into this as nades tipple over the top, picking up a couple of those points. 1 player remains, and it's Pombit for Alter Ego into the vehicle. 2 points for them. Nova picking up the share of it, though, with 3.
And up to 6 teams remaining. Pombit, that last golden survivor for the team many, many times now. But again, the massive eyes are on over towards S2G with that 15 eliminations. Everyone's staring at that. You're going to be worried about as well, 53 points at the start of this game with 15 on the top of it. You're looking at a big points total, 68 after that, not including points rankings either. So this could be a really, really good game for S2G to see them towards that top side. And we're waiting for that standout performance coming through from Turkey, that region that has just given and given and given this year.
Order from the top of the roof. Nova have been so brutal for so long here in this position, but they are now with their backs to the circle and will most likely have to move towards S2G. Lil Boy from Influence Kemen had his team taken away, but will still truck on. T2K getting picked apart now as S2G rack up 16. They started this game blank, 37 points behind the leader of Inco, with 1 elimination coming through from Inco as well. They are going to have one hell of a game, but this is how you do it. S2G with this match have got the potential to take over the top of the table.
Last zone now. Everyone's thinking about this one. Nova, second game in a row, they find themselves in a fantastic position. Just taking up that approach that Inco showed us before, but doing it in a way that looks so aggressive. Frozen just stands over the top. There goes T2K. Alter Ego ladder up to 4th place. A potential to go further. And S2G now start their assault over towards Nova, down the hill. First nade goes through, does not get anything done. Ray Z takes a bit of damage. Frozen, Order, both going up at the same time, trying to play off the back of one another. But Pombit, look at this, could play spoiler.
Buoyed by the crowd, the power of the fans, keeping him alive right now. Nova looking to try and crunch that one out of him. And they are being so cautious here, Blank. 5 eliminations on the game right now. And S2G just suppressing that ridgeline. Little boy from Influence Kemet is still here and he still wants to play. Order falls first. Jimmy pushes up to the rock and will handle business. But this is an opportunity for S2G. Unfortunately, that door is shut. One player falls, the second soon to follow. Silas is the last to be put under pressure, put to the test. And with that, Nova take it down. From the central position, they held strong. And that is the way that they come back into it. They come back swinging.
An insane game there from Nova. I mean, that they played all the cards correctly. They're in the right order with the right suit. I don't think that could have gone better for them. They picked a great position. Paraboy played a very, very busy game. Up towards that top side, back down again. He was scouting, never idle throughout this entire thing. It was a very, very well done match. But S2G, we have to congratulate them. I think everything went topsy-turvy towards the end, though. With shots coming from behind from Alter Ego, with Lil Boy getting in on the mix. I think S2G was completely confused towards those last moments. Regardless, they had gone through the ringer to get to that point. Unfortunately, Nova was just a little bit too hard of a challenge to tackle.
Just that little bit, unfortunately for them. With a couple more nades, they might have been able to do a little bit more. If Pondbit had gone down earlier, they might have been able to move around the side a little bit more effectively. But they played it with 3 for so long, and they got so much done for S2G.
Absolutely, they did. I think for S2G, they have to completely congratulate your boy, Silas. On the other hand of things, Alter Ego, what a way for it. I mean, I mentioned it earlier on, saying that Pondbit, this guy is the golden survivor of the team, and he's certainly got a lot done there for himself. Got very, very far into the game and lived that one out. It was not an easy lobby to live that one out in either, particularly being right at the bottom of the hill, pretty much where you get caught out almost 100% of the time. So the fact that he made it that far, fantastic stuff.
I didn't quite catch, actually, if S2G went down 2nd or 3rd. I think it was 2nd.
Yeah.
But Pondbit surviving till at least 3rd is a really, really great result.
Absolutely. I think anyone here as an Alter Ego fan is going to be really happy with that one.
So you mean everyone here?
Everyone here. I mean, 10 points overall. You know what I will say about the audience and the fans here? It is very refreshing to get an audience that is cheering practically everyone on. I mean, even when S2G is doing really well, making some big plays, there's real appreciation from the crowd for those big plays. It makes me happy. It gets me hyped, and I'm hoping that if you guys can hear it in the back, you're getting hype at home too.
I'm sure they can. I don't think you could miss it, to be honest, Blank.
Absolutely.
And it's also refreshing to have a crowd that has rhythm.
Oh, yeah. They really do.
They've been keeping those drums going, and I'm sure we'll hear them for many more matches to come, Blank. Nova, to be fair, in that circle, it was their game to lose, right? The one test that they had was to push out of that compound, and it was against diminished forces from S2G, from everybody else that surrounded them. Nova were able to take care of business and handle it for a chicken dinner.
Thank you so much, John.